What is up, everybody? This is Mark with DBS Decks, and as I have promised, I am bringing you my deck list that I took to Kansas City and won the championship event down there with yesterday. The deck went 4-0-1, and it just was amazing on the entire day. Played well, had good RNG, good shuffle, everything. It drew well, so it was just an overall really good day. Shout out to Collector's Cash down in Lenexa there for having a fantastic event. Unfortunately, we didn't get the championship kit in time because their distributor messed that up, but they were able to remedy that for us. They were still able to make it an awesome event, so we are very grateful to them for doing that. So shout out to them again. Also, shout out to Eric Hill. He had been going back and forth with me all week on the deck and, helping, make it better. Kind of, we talked about card choices back and forth, so that was really helpful. Shout out to him as well. And then also shout out to Rishi at R&R Gaming for making sure that my extra 2-drop Goku Ape got in the mail on time and here by Saturday. So thanks a lot to everybody involved. And I mentioned Ape. Yes, it is a yellow-red Surge Q deck. And I wasn't a big fan of this leader at first. I really wasn't. And then as time has gone on, I have found my way back to this leader. And I really enjoy it, A, for the draw power on the front, but the big part is on the back side. It's just great defensively. It has so many answers to the meta right now just in one package as the leader. And then also when you really need to get that hard finish for, the big swing, it allows you to just immediately get that plus 10,000 and swing right in, and you can get double strike and, finish them off as you need to. So this leader is awesome. Now we're going to start off with the base of the deck, which was 4 Mecha Frieza, Energy Blight, the red-blue dual color. Now, it doesn't ever really get played. I mean, you can play it for 15k and swing and give their leader minus 5,000 if you absolutely need to on the auto. So that can actually happen, but you generally just play it for the land, and that's about it. And then I'm going to start off with the super combo. I split 2 and 2. I was at 3 Beerus, 2 Whis. I might go back to that. I'm not sure yet. I like having both options available, but there are times where having the 3 Beerus is a little bit better for your energy fixing. I didn't have too many problems with that yesterday, though, so I'm not worried about it. The Whis is great, too, because in specific metas, it allows you to just give stuff minus 10k, so that can really save you. And it basically makes, if they're swinging with a big attacker and you give yourself plus 10k off the combo and their attacker minus 10k, that's essentially like a plus 20 for you, so that's really good. And we already know what the Beerus does on defense, so I don't know. I'm still kind of sidebarred on whether or not I want to do 3 and 1 or 2 and 2, but it's definitely never going to go 3-1 like that. That's never going to happen, so I can assure you of that. I'll move that out of the way. And I just lost a Beerus, so we'll fetch that later there. Now, we're going to get into the Evasion package, and I say Evasion meaning things that allow us to avoid catastrophe or big swings or something. The first off is the Brawly, Crown of Retribution. This 1-drop is probably one of the best 1-drops in the game. Essentially what it does is it allows you to just look at their hand. First of all, let's talk about the part where it says look at the hand. It gives you card knowledge, and having card knowledge is huge. So being able to look at your opponent's hand and say, hey, I know what's in your hand. I can see what you're going to do in the future. At the same time, I'm going to find something 20k or less, and we're just going to, deal with it that way. Do remember, though, for example, let's say you play this and they play something like Vegeta the Cruel, then your auto is going to try and resolve. It's not going to, and it's going to fail. I mean, that just happens, but there's not too many times when that does happen. Usually if they're like, I don't know. I haven't had it happen too often. I've had it once or twice, but either way, this card, incredibly good. If you're on a budget and you don't really want to pay the money for it, I don't really think there's something that replaces this card, honestly. My best advisement would just be to try and get a couple copies. They're getting pretty easy to find now, so they're not, super expensive, but definitely, yeah, You need those. Then we have the obligatory Champa the Trickster. I love this card. It taps anything that comes down. Having it at 3 is probably the right number. I would never put it at 2. I don't even side it out if I need to. It was always at 3 the entire time yesterday. I never had it less than 3, and it came in handy every single time I needed to do something. And then also for the 2, it also draws you the card as well. Autos still go off when they play something, but if it's like a big thing like Gogeta or something, you get your 4th card and they don't get to attack. Then for the negates, I had Time Magic in the main board, and I thought about this. I'm like, this card's actually nuts with the Surge Leader, just because of his ability to go from the field. And I was like, I'll try it without Time Magic. I wasn't worried about like Gohan or anything with huge triple strike or dual attack swings or anything, knowing the meta that came from my local down there, and then also being kind of familiar with the Kansas meta as I've been down there and played a few times in KC. So I'm familiar with how they play down there. And I felt safe not taking Time Magic. Like I was pretty okay with that. So not having Time Magic in the main board, these two, I don't know. It's definitely a flex spot for negates, but that's what I did. Topo at 3. Now I've seen people run 2. I've seen people run 4. Never run 1. Either run it at 2 or more, or don't. I ran it at 3 because I wanted to see it constantly. I had to see it constantly. There was a lot of aggro, and I knew there would be a lot of aggro down there yesterday, just based on, again, my local meta. We had, I think, 8 or 9 people come down from my local, so plus the 4 people from the Lincoln, Nebraska local, they came down as well. So between Nebraska and Kansas, we had the majority of players down there for sure. I do believe we had 14 to their 6, so it was a definitely heavily Nebraska-weighted championship event, but it was a lot of fun. Topo, based on the amount of aggro that I knew was going to be there, Topo was a good call. So it's 2 or 3 is a meta call. If you are running only 2, I suggest 1 in the sideboard for sure. But I had 3. I was okay with 3. I did not run the 4th in my sideboard for sure, as we'll see later. And then that's pretty much the evasion package. So these are the things that help you avoid trauma or bad things in your hand. Continuing on that, though, there's a supplemental evasion package. I guess I'm going to go call it that. So it's supplemental. They're not really necessarily evasion cards, but we'll go 3 Bardock Apes. This card, you play it, you combo with it, and then if they don't have an answer to it, it comes out, it rests another card on board, and you draw a card. Does not ignore barrier, which is unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot of stuff that really has barrier. There's a lot of like random things that you think that this wouldn't hit, but it does, so it's kind of nice. This helps you avoid a big hit, or just like if you're 15 to 10 and you're like, I need a quick save, like this just helps you avoid that, and then also rest something on the board. And then you also get to draw, plus now you have a 20k double striker on board for 2, so that's not good. That's not good for your opponent in any situation. Now I will say, when we're looking at budget spots, right? So let's move back here to the Bardock. On the budget spot for the Bardock, if you don't have the Bardocks, I completely understand. Championship pack stuff is expensive. Time Magic works, Flying Nimbus works. You won't get that advantage of having the 1-drop guy on the field for the Surge, but that's okay. You'll still have a yellow card, so Time Magic or Flying Nimbus, or if you're feeling really cheeky, Light Bullet, I guess, would work as well, because you can rest 2 cards on board. I would just stick with Flying Nimbus or Time Magic, though, as a 2-drop in that spot, and then that helps you negate and stop and stall your aggro, and could potentially open up another spot in your sideboard. However, if you have access to these, I would probably suggest those. Topos, again, it's red, so you don't really have a whole lot of options for good negates in red. If you don't want to lose the red spot, and you don't mind sacrificing, like cards in your hand, is that all you got is a really good answer. Afterimage technique is fine if you don't really feel like doing that. It also saves you from big hits. It just doesn't have the benefit of making them, like, this card's really good against Boo, for example. So, if you have access to topos, try and get some topos. Otherwise, is that all you got? Or Afterimage technique would be a good response as well. So those are my 2 suggestions. The Ape, unfortunately, does not have a good replacement. However, they are getting replaced, reprinted in the anniversary box this summer, so I guess you can look forward to that. If you really need to get a hold of these for an event, try and borrow some from a friend, or save up and purchase. I mean, they're probably going to go down in value over time because of the reprint, but if you really need them for an event that bad and you think you'll do all right if you have them, make the gamble, buy them. But otherwise, I mean, I don't really know. Maybe go an extra go a Champa, and then I don't know, maybe a Nimbus or like a Nimbus or Time Magic or something like that. That's my best suggestion for yellow there. But I can't really think of anything that would help the same way that Bardock does, or I'm just not thinking clearly right now. And then these guys, I know everybody hates looking at this card because it's ridiculous. Right? It's like $100 right now, and rightfully so. This card is amazing. So this 100% makes the deck just pop, right? If you have 3 copies of this card, your deck's just going to pop. If you have 2 copies of this card, your deck's going to pop. Even at 1, it still is good. Like, just having this card in your deck makes life simple. You pitch it off the ability, or you pitch it off of a topo, or you just pitch it in general if they're playing like hand control, and then they see that hit the drop area, like, it's a sad day for them. For example, my last round, I had to play Serge Piccolo. I had to play Jacob Johnson here from Omaha. He's a really good card player, so we had a fantastic match. Game 3 was a little wonky, though. He wasn't hitting anything that he wanted, and he had to use this the crit Gohan 1-drop, the newfound powers on Gohan. And he had to swing with that like 6 times and bring himself down to like 1. And I ended up pitching 2 apes off of my draws from my leader, and then he crit 1 from my life into my drop area. So I had all 3 in my drop area, and he like cleared my hand multiple times, and I was just like draw 2, draw 2, draw 2, and it didn't matter. So I was able to keep above that, and I ended up taking game 3 for the win. So that was a whole lot of fun. This card, unfortunately, does not have a replacement. You can put anything else you want in place of it. It does not have a replacement. If you're concerned about like a draw 2 on cards and you don't have these, so you don't really care about your drop area, which I'm explaining why the next suggestion I'm going to make is probably a bad idea. Don't do like a Scientist Fu or anything and draw 2, because your drop area does matter. 100% does matter in this deck. So but if maybe the package I'm running is not the same, Scientist Fu is a good option. It's Overwhelm 7. I don't know. There's not really a whole lot of draw 2 packages out there. So, but this card's in the subcategory of Evasion, because if they're playing hand control, it allows you to mitigate hand control, and then in general, it just gives you a huge hand advantage. So I went on a little bit longer than I wanted to about that, but that is the Evasion package for the Surge Q deck. Then we get to the aggro. Beers plays nicely with this. 4 coolers. Cooler's pretty cheap right now, so I'm not worried about going onto a budget option for him. The card's amazing. Double strike, they mill a card. Comes out for 1. Everybody's like, this card's super OP. I'm like, it's not as bad as Gogeta, but it's definitely OP. Playing 4 of these in here. I sided them out every hand control game. So if they're playing Piccolo Surge, immediately, I'm going to show you what you side out for them, but they immediately come right out. If you don't have coolers, I don't get some. They're cheap, so get them, and then play 4 of them. There, that's my answer for that. But the aggro is really good with these. And then to continue on the aggression, you have Furthering Destruction Champa. This is basically part of your finishing combo, though. If you want to try and hold this as long as possible, you can get by without it. You honestly can. I don't like it, though. I like having it because if you know they got stuff that can stop a battle card swing, but not a leader swing, like stuff that can kill a battle card, like Brawly Surge, for example, this leader swing ends Brawly Surge because they're like, I can KO with anything, but they're at 2. You're like, swing, pump it up huge, give it double strike. You can't out combo me, you lose. Like, it's that simple. So you want to hold on as long as possible. I was running 2 for a little bit, but I needed to make space for stuff. And you're fine at 1. This is definitely a 1 of. When we can run up to 60 cards, I might play 51 cards and play a second Champa. That's where I'm at right now. So that's your aggro package. Then we have our late game mid-range package. 4 Beerus. This card is excellent. Kills anything 30k or less. So I played a lot of green-yellow yesterday, and I timed it just right several times where they would play like the Brawly 6-drop, and then you wait for them to screw that up, and then you drop like a Whis package, and then you kill their Brawly. Or another thing, let's say they swing with the Vegeta, right? The big SS4 Vegeta, you just wait for that swing, and they're like, yeah, I've got you here, and then you go Whis, Beerus, kill. So it automatically takes anything from 40k down to 30k and makes it an instant target for Beerus. The Whis super combo is why I run it at 2 in this, because I play 2 cooler. I play 4 cooler, 4 Beerus, 2 Whis, 2 Beerus super combos. So it's a nice balance, respectively. But having the Whis minus 10k with the Beerus 5-drop just that ends a lot of secret rare days and things that are really scary for a lot of players. Unless it's like Demigra. Like, the only thing that really sucks against is, like, if you get hit with a Demigra in this card, you're pretty much boned. Or if they, like, hit you with Black Smoke Dragon, you're boned. So, I mean, and all other, minus those 2 secret rares, this card's pretty good. It also plays nicely with SS4 Goku Heartfelt Plea. If you get this out, you deal with their big guy, and then you haven't awakened yet, you pop it off, get this out. They either take a damage or you're drawing cards, and then you draw 3 more. So you're either drawing 5 cards and Radiant Energy, or Radiant Energy and drawing 3 cards, and they take a life. There's no downfall to this card, and 2 is the right number for it. I had it at 3 for a while, and then I got my 3rd monkey in the mail, and I played, 2. So I never had a problem at 2. I saw it whenever I needed, because I draw profusely in this deck. But that is the mid-range. So then we have, I guess this would fall under the Evasion package, but I put it in here because of the package that I'm running. It's similar to the Eric Hill package. He only ran 3-2-2 just like that, and it's totally fine because you can get away with this even. But 3 Vegeta, SS Vegeta Exploding Weakness. This card is absolutely insane. I don't remember if it's getting reprinted or not. I don't think it is. There isn't, unfortunately, a replacement for it. I can't think of anything that actually handles fields or boards the way this card does. The card's absolutely nuts. It minuses 20k to the entire board. Does not ignore barrier, but that's still fine. On this side, you can actually, trick them into, playing into things. Like, you give them a swing, or like, okay, well, I'm gonna negate all my abilities, but say they have enough and they think they can go aggro on you. If they're I don't want to say it, but if they're bad, they'll play into that and they'll go, okay, and then you go, okay, drop 3, kill your entire board. Now you have nothing, and then they get plus 5,000 on your leader for the turn, and that's hilarious. I did that several times. Or you can just play it, hard cast it. That's also a thing that works. So if they have a huge board barrier, like U11 does that, and they can sit on like 2-drop barriers, and the cell's coming, you can just go kill your board. They'll play something, you go that, or you'll just kill their board's barriers, and then you'll play the Vegeta and just annihilate their entire board. And it's a sad day for them, but it makes your life simple. The Goku Path to Greatness, he's in there as you can get away with just one of them in their hand. I try not to charge them when I'm playing hand control, though, because you don't want to lose one and not be able to do the package. But he's just there as he exists. You can hard cast him. I've hard cast him once, and it doesn't really matter, but I've done it one time to help myself win a game. And then that gets you into Gogeta, which we all know Gogeta's nuts. And that's why I talked about playing like the Scientist Fu or something for the replacement for the Goku would be bad, because I play this package in here. But if you don't have the Vegetas, then you're probably not going to end up playing this package anyway. You'll probably play like the Frieza package or something. So that becomes a moot point at that point. But in the Frieza package, you draw a whole lot, and you don't need to see Scientist Fu anyway. So this is a huge late game finisher, though. The Gogeta package is like hand control. I talked to Eric Hill about the hand control matchup with this match against Surge Piccolo. He said you want to go aggro against Surge Piccolo, but I found it a little bit easier if you sit back and do nothing, and you just swing with your leader every once in a while and just let them build up a big hand, and then you build up a big board. And then if they're not playing yellow, you don't really have to worry about it. Well, even if they are playing yellow, you don't have to worry about it. It's just got deflect, so it doesn't matter. But you just basically wait until they get huge. You sit there and protect yourself. Let negate so they can't do anything. Get to 5 energy. Sit on this, and then drop the Hero Revived as fast as humanly possible, and then win from that point. Because they're usually going to sit there and take your Goku hits. They really will if they don't catch on. Like game 2, they'll probably catch on, but game 1, they're not going to catch on. So I found that to be a means. You can switch up, but having this package gives you a lot of variance in how you can play the deck. And so that is the late game finisher package with Hero Revived. Black Smoke Dragon and Fu for the black cards. Fu Shroud of Mystery is the greatest finisher ever. Like, this card got dropped so many times yesterday and ended so many games for me. Black Smoke Dragon also does a thing. You have to time this card just right, though. Do not drop it like right. If you think you can drop it right when you have 5 and get away with it, go for it. It is crippling for them. But if you can stall out against a Boo deck, which I'm able to quite efficiently, you stall out against a Boo deck, and then you count their deck out, and then if you can time it just right and they're not paying attention, get them to like right at 8 cards, which I was able to pull off easily yesterday. And then you play Black Smoke, they have no response, make them ditch 7, and then they say go, and then draw 1, and they lose. So you usually can use this to mitigate the fight against hand control. You can kill their hand. Like if you are somehow magically able to get this and Gogeta out at the same time, like it's a crazy day when that happens. I didn't have that happen at all, but this card, super underrated. I don't know how it's as cheap as it is. I really want this card to increase in value because it's so good. It has so many options. For those of you who don't understand what it does, you can either mill 7 cards off the top of their deck and draw 2, and the 7 cards go to the warp 4 cards from their hand, or you warp the entire board, including their entire board, ignoring barrier. So no battle area, so it gets everything out of the battle area, ignoring barrier, and it goes down to 5 when you have 12 cards in drop area or more. So yeah, Black Smoke Dragon, absolutely nuts. Again, I don't know how this card is that cheap. And then again, Fu, yeah, just nuts. The obligatory 4 Senzu Beans. If I really need to explain this card any further than the obligatory 4 Senzu Beans, I can't help you. Then, Battle to the Death. This card was at 1. I ran it at 2 after talking with Eric Hill. He said he was thinking about running it at 2. I definitely ran it at 2. I saw it more often than I needed to in some matchups, but I think that was just because of the meta. If I played a lot of aggro, I sided it out. But against like Piccolo, it's awesome. It says take up to 3 life, and then give something minus 25,000, ignoring barrier. So it gets rid of, it's really good against like U6 Invoker. Or U7 Invoker, sorry. But it also, like, say against hand control, they're trying to play like that green Piccolo that, kills something on battle, and then they draw a card. Gets rid of that. The card's just nuts. It helps you get to your 5 life or less awakening, though. You don't have to take 3, take up to 3. So you can actually take 0 and it still goes off. But usually I took 1, 2, or 3. Just depending, get some cards in hand. The card's nuts. This video's going a little bit longer than I expected, but it's very informative. It's definitely gonna be a half-hour long video, so about 8 more minutes here, and we're gonna go through the side deck, and it's gonna be over. So that was the main deck. I'm gonna go in color order here, starting with the Broly. The Broly is again really good. I played this against sometimes hand control. I added a 3rd one. Most of the time, I did this against. Like a mirror match is a really good one to do it against. I didn't see a mirror match though. It's really bad against Boo. I didn't really have to side this in a whole lot. I thought I'd have more instances, but generally like the mirror match or things where they don't tap out a lot, this is the card you play for that. This card's amazing against aggro. The Frieza Death Embrace. You draw a card when you play it, so that's a nice 1-drop. I guess if you don't have, if Broly Crown of Retribution is something you're trying to replace, Frieza Death Embrace, I guess, would be a really good budget card in the main for this deck. You draw 1 card and then activate battle as many times as you want. You pay a red and give something minus 10k. So late game, if you don't have a lot of cards in hand, but you need to kill something, and they don't have answers to kill something, this helps you kill stuff really fast. Cease to Exist is probably one of the best extra cards in the game right now. It says pay 3, it was just 2 red, no generic. Pay 3, give 2 cards on your opponent's side of the board, minus 30k, ignoring barrier. It answers so many different things. I can't tell you how many things it answered for me yesterday. I played it a ton, and it won me multiple games. King Yemma, the Soul Supervisor. We haven't seen this card for a while, but you take 2 non-black battle cards from your opponent's drop area and bottom deck them, and then draw a card. It helps against the Frieza match, like big time. Like if they put that Mutable Menace in the drop area, you put it in the bottom of their deck, and then they have to go searching for more. So I didn't see any Frieza yesterday, but I was prepared just in case. It didn't come in a whole lot. Doesn't really do anything against anything else, but I was definitely prepared. Also can help against the mirror match too, I guess. You can put their apes back in the bottom of their deck, and also just lessens the amount of cards in the drop area. So if they're trying to play like the Black Smoke on you or get to the Gogeta package, they have less cards to do that with, instead of to keep going for more. There's the time magics, as I said, for the Bardock 1-drop. I sided this in a couple times. It's not often that I brought it in, though. There was not a whole lot of things I saw that had like dual attack or anything crazy like that. Dark Power Black Mass Sand is great against Boo. It makes them waste cards to eat it up on the backside, but on the front side they can't get going right away, so it really helps you in the long run. I did not decide Frost Deadly Poison in at all. It helps against Boo. It really does, but they go off so fast that it doesn't really matter unless you're able to like stall early on. I use it against, if I had to use it, it'd be against Surge Piccolo and they're trying to play their big kill card. But I never really saw it yesterday. My 2 cards I sided in for Surge Piccolo were this and the Cease to Exist, just because of the way my opponent's deck was structured. Otherwise, it would have been these 2, and then the coolers come out. But Tyranny's Cost is a great card against Surge Piccolo. It's a draw 2, and they usually have a huge hand, and so you force them to go down to 10 cards right away. And that makes it doesn't sound like a whole lot, especially if they're like 12 or 13 cards, but that's still making them have to discard 3 cards. That's 3 resources that they don't want to get rid of. So playing this actually makes your opponent think a little bit and kind of makes their life harder. But again, against Surge Piccolo, you side these out or these in, and you bring out like the 4 coolers. So there's that. Or based on their matchup, you bring you can vice versa. You can bring Cease to Exist out. You try not to side in more than 4 cards a match, though. Any more than 4 cards, you're starting to deteriorate your main deck. Dark Power Black Mass Sand against things like Boo. I sided out like Brawly Crown of Retribution is the card that came out. This was for that, so I brought up my Brawly Crown of Retributions, put those in. That helped against the Boo matchup. Against aggro, they tap out a lot. Brawly Crown Retribution comes out. Freeze the Death's Embrace goes in. You deal with that. If they have a crazy amount of aggro as well, and you don't want, or the crazy amount of big stuff that's late game, and you don't want to get a Crawly Brown Retribution for the Death's Embrace, you can bring in the Time Magic, or you can do like things that aren't really going to be super helpful against aggro late game. I would take out sometimes like 2 Beerus in this, or I'd do like a Beerus cooler split and put 2 Time Magic and 2 Death Embrace in, and then also take out the Crown of Retributions because they always tap out. So that was pretty much that. And then King Yemma is just like, if you take out Crown of Ret usually because you don't want things in the drop area, you want things to go away. So I don't know. The side deck you just kind of make your matchups work. But this is how my side deck was built. It worked out quite nicely. We are with the main board. That's good to go. If you guys have any questions about anything that I went through, let me know. I will be happy to answer them. The deck profile, again, sorry it's so long, but there was a lot of information that I wanted to go over. Make sure I was very thorough this time. And, explained all my matchups and explained the different choices. Again, shout out to Eric Hill for helping me out this week. It was really good to work with him. He's very knowledgeable about the deck, and our collaboration was very effective. I don't subscribe to their Patreon, but if you guys have a chance to give them some money, subscribe to their Patreon. They're again very knowledgeable, very useful. They're super nice guys too. They will be able to help you out all day, every day, and again, like I said, this is just proof, of, how much their help can help you, and going back and forth. And then also, I test played like a mofo this week. The deck currently right now in tournament play has a 9-0-1 record for the events that I played it in, but I also played it a lot on the side and just tested against just about everything I get my hands on. So, gotta test play, gotta go to your events. And then I already gave my other shout outs. So, don't forget to check out DBS decks. I'll have the link to the profile in there. And again, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will get to them. But otherwise, enjoy this lovely half-hour long video. And I will talk to you guys later. Deuces.